But even more importantly, it is dubious that a myriad of ancient reptile, bird, and reptile mammal transitional forms necessary for the blossoming theory of evolution would be hypothesized and then conveniently discovered by teams of evolutionist archaeologists purposely out looking to find such fossils. And it is even more dubious that such fossils have supposedly existed for millions of years, but were never found by or known to any civilization in the history of humanity.
All right, hold on. Before we get into all this Illuminati shit, as you can tell. So, what he's talking about here is that the hypothesis predicted the findings of fossils. We found those fossils, therefore it's a coincidence or it's manufactured that the fossils were found after the hypothesis was made. So he's insinuating here that the fossils were falsified in order to support the hypothesis. I'm not saying that that can't happen, but at the same time, that's not what happened, and that's not how the scientific method is actually used. But with the scientific method, you can use a hypothesis to make predictions. If those predictions turn out to be correct, then that just further proves your hypothesis, or further supports your hypothesis, and it just makes your hypothesis even stronger. What he's complaining about here essentially is just the scientific method. Like, oh shit, this is how the scientific method works. It must be a conspiracy. And now we're getting into the conspiracy, a little bit more into the conspiracy part.
Until evolutionism's Masonic Renaissance in the mid-19th century. David Wozni wrote, "Why are there no discoveries by Native Americans in all the years previous when they roamed the American continents? There is no belief of dinosaurs in the Native American religion or tradition. For that matter, why were there no discoveries prior to the 19th century in any part of the world? According to the World Book Encyclopedia..."
That's not exactly true. For one thing, there was no one Native American religion. There were multiple theologies that were at work in Native American cultures. So, I mean, I that's something kind of petty to pick on, I guess, but he makes it sound like there was just one overarching Native American theology, and there just simply wasn't. Number two, the Native Americans weren't looking or documenting like scientific finds or even using science in any kind of way. They weren't concerned with that. So why would you expect them to find dinosaur bones or to talk about dinosaur bones? Also, there were dinosaur bones found prior to the 19th century or 18th century, whatever. They were actually started being found in the 17th century, and then more and more bones were found. That's what prompted Sir Richard Owen to analyze the information and come up with this entire new class of animal called Dinosauria. So it's just not the way that you're like the way that you say that things happen just simply is not how things happened.
Before the 1800s, no one ever knew that dinosaurs existed.
Well, yeah, because Sir Richard Owen, he made up the name for them. Like the taxonomic system didn't even start to become a worry or anything like that until this point in time that he's talking about. We weren't concerned with like producing some kind of overarching system for classifying the living organisms here on Earth. The word dinosaur just didn't exist before Sir Richard Owen. Why would you expect it to?
During the late 1800s and early 1900s, large deposits of dinosaur remains were discovered. Why has man suddenly made all these discoveries? No tribes, cultures, or countries in the world ever discovered a dinosaur bone before the mid-1800s, and then they were suddenly found all over the world in North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Argentina, Belgium, Mongolia, Tanzania, West Germany, and many other places apparently had large deposits of dinosaur fossils never before seen.
I mean, nobody was looking for them, but also another point is that, like, let's just say we, at whatever point in human history, I didn't really look it up because I'm thinking about this right now on the spot, that we discovered cancer was a thing. Why did nobody talk about having cancer beforehand? Didn't people have like weird lumps on their dicks before that point? Why are we just now figuring out that all of this cancer exists? Why does something that we have given a name to suddenly start to exist? Why didn't we figure this shit out before? Why didn't anybody ever say anything before that point about these things? It makes no sense to be like, well, why are we just now starting to find these things? It's like, well, because we noticed this thing, and then we started looking for it. We started noticing these things in the excavations that we were doing, or in, whenever there was like a construction site or something like that, you stumble across a dinosaur bone. It's like, oh fuck, dinosaur bone, we need to preserve this shit because it's history, yo. It's so ridiculous to expect an entire, like, for human civilization to always know about dinosaurs.
All these places were inhabited and well explored for thousands of years before this time. Why had no one ever found a dinosaur fossil before?
Well, I mean, like I said, the first written like description of a dinosaur bone or whatnot was given by Robert Plot in 1676. So nobody knew what a giant fucking bone was that was fossilized. I mean, fossils themselves weren't really understood until, right about that time either. I guess maybe right. I don't know when we came up with the whole fossil thing. I really should have looked that up. I'm so sorry, guys.
According to the book The Dinosaur Project, paleontological journalist Wayne Grady claims the period following this, from around 1870 to 1880, became a period in North America where some of the most underhanded shenanigans in the history of science were conducted. In what was known as the Great Dinosaur Rush, or the Bone Wars, Edward Drinker Cope of the Academy of Natural Sciences and Othniel Marsh of the Peabody Museum of Natural History began a lifelong rivalry and passion for dinosaur hunting. They started out as friends, but became bitter enemies during a legendary feud involving double-crossing, slander, bribery, theft, spying, and destruction of bones by both parties. Marsh is said to have discovered over 500 different ancient species, including 80 dinosaurs, while Cope discovered 56. Out of the 136 dinosaur species supposedly discovered by the two men, however, only 32 are presently considered valid, as the rest have all proven to be falsifications and fabrications. None of them once claimed to find a complete skeleton either, so all their work involved reconstructions. In fact, to this day, no complete skeleton has ever been found, and so all dinosaurs are reconstructions.
What he's meaning here when he says complete skeleton is 100% complete fossil. That's not what we consider to be a complete skeleton, and in fact, we have found multiple complete skeletons. Complete skeletons would be any skeleton that is more than 50% there. With more than 50% of a skeleton, you can really, get a grasp of the features of the dinosaur and everything like that. Of course, knowing Eric Dubé, he would think 50% of the skeleton, that's just like right up the ass end of it. I mean, what can you determine from that? We've come a long way in the research of dinosaurs. Like nowadays, we know like what color the feathers were on dinosaurs. I mean, the fact that we know that some dinosaurs actually had feathers is a relatively new thing that we've discovered. And I believe that it was just recently, I saw it right earlier tonight, where they found a new fossil that is like a sort of missing link between dinosaurs and avians, birds, modern day birds. We've been able to tell things like color of their feathers and everything like that. Of course, there is some artist rendition in some of the more popularized depictions of dinosaurs, but still, those are like best guesses as to what it looked like, and those have changed over time. And just because they're presenting the best guess for what it possibly looked like, given the bone structure and everything like that, it's fairly good, like considering what they're having to work with, which is just like pure bones, or not bones, sorry, fossilized bones. This is like really ridiculous of it, because what it feels like Eric Dubé is wanting here is like a complete carcass of a dinosaur. Just like a dinosaur went into a cave, died, the cave was sealed up, and it remained perfectly mummified and everything until today. And, that it was a complete carcass of a dinosaur. That's what Eric wants, but that's not what he's going to get. Also, just to lay this out there, we do have some very, very complete skeletons that are considered complete skeletons. Like there's the Tyrannosaurus Rex dubbed Sue, who's over 90% complete. And then the most complete dinosaur skeleton that we've been able to find is about 98% complete. I mean, what Eric is saying here is just flat out lying.